All right, we're going to look at Ober's test. To assess everything, let's have you lay on your side, so this side's down. This is going to be kind of sketchy because this is a small bench here. So we're using Ober's test to assess basically all this shit on the side of the hip. We'll get into the specific muscles in a second here. So what I'm going to do is, this is good right here. We're working with this. My wife's not going to fall off the table. So what I want to do is slightly extend the hip back. And now supporting her so she doesn't fall off, I'll probably support her back here. We're going to drop the hip down. Sweetie, you can drop the hip down. I'm not going to let you fall, I swear. This is much better with a wider bench. This is what we're working with. And right now she has her knee in line with the bench. This is a pass test. A failed test is going to be, we get down here. I love those sound effects. That's going to be a failed rep. So once again, all the shit on the side of the hip here. We can thank my beautiful demo here. And in chiropractic school, we were taught to use that to assess IT band and TFL tightness. It turns out later on they've done studies, and I'll show the study here somewhere, that when they cut the TFL and the IT band on cadavers, the hip didn't move when they tried to then do that test or repeat it when they cut it off. But what was interesting is when they cut the glutes, the hip dropped further, and then when they cut the hip capsule on the cadaver, it also dropped further. So what we're going to cover now is how to lengthen and strengthen the glutes and the joint capsule in order to improve this range of motion here. Let's start off with lengthening everything on the side of the hip right here. This is going to be the most basic stretch we're going to work. The devil's in the details with this. We want the front foot in line with the back knee. So be able to draw a line. Front heel, back knee. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hip and drop it out to the side here. So that's why I have the bench here to lean in for support. I'm going to drop that hip out to the side. And then lastly, while continuing to push my hip out to the side, and you can see how my knee is going forward, I want to shift that weight into my front foot. And objectively, when you're watching, there's not much visually changing, but these cues, when done in the correct order, really is going to increase the intensity of the stretch and where you're feeling it. So just one last time here. Front foot in line with the back knee. I'm going to take that hip, push it out to the side. Now while pushing it out to the side, supporting my hand on the bench, I'm going to shift the weight forward, and we're going to get a deep, dull, achy stretch in the side of the hip. It hurts so good. We want to aim to strain but not cause any pain here with this. All right, let's cover how we're going to lengthen that hip capsule. So this is a slightly more advanced stretch, but I'm also going to show you how to scale it back here. So what we're going to do, cross one leg, cross the other one over. This foot, keep it flat on the floor the entire time. Now, if this is my left leg, my left arm's going to wrap around the arm, and then I'm going to overlap my hand on the elbow, and now I'm thinking about right shoulder, dropping it towards the floor while I'm thinking about sending my ass or glute out to the side here. So I'm laterally flexing, bringing that right shoulder, dropping it towards the floor. I'm getting a huge stretch in the side or the outside of my hip, or the concept or the idea or thought process is the joint capsule right here. Now, this is a pretty advanced stretch to even set up this position. And make sure you keep the foot flat on the floor. One of the most common mistakes is I see the foot lifting up right here. But now the way we're going to scale it or make it more doable or achievable at first, I'm going to take a band with this band. So same thing, I'm just going to set it up in reverse here. I'm going to get a good amount of tension on this band. And now I like to have it in, so if I'm stretching my right side, the left hand's going to hold the band. Ideally both sides, however much support you need, because as we lean back, this is supporting us or helping us spot us here in this position. And all the cues stay the same. I'm thinking about bringing this left shoulder, laterally flexing it, bringing it towards the floor. I'm setting my butt back slightly, and I'm choking up on this band, getting as much tension as I need to, basically you're defying gravity here because you can't manipulate yourself or put yourself in this position to achieve this stretch. So this is just how we scale it. All right, so we covered how to lengthen it. Let's go over a beginner, intermediate, and advanced way to strengthen all of this stuff on the side of the hip. Really scientific, right? So you want to use a cable machine for this? A band can work, but bands are never going to be as good. We're going to use this cuff attachment. I don't even know what it's called. So we'll set this up around the ankle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into a quadruped position. I'm going to pull out so I have enough tension, and watch what I do here. Loop it under. Little trick so it doesn't get in my way. And now I think about my knee as a pivot point on the floor here. So in this quadruped position, knee on the floor, pivot point, and I let it pull me in while really isolating that motion. Now rotate out, what a few reps look like. All right, so the intermediate version on how to strengthen this. We're basically taking the test and turning it into an exercise. You'll ideally, I don't know why this gym doesn't have ankle weights. You're going to want some ankle weights here to add a little extra, we'll say oomph in the bottom position, so it can help force us into a new range if we were restricted there. So we're going to lay on the side, hip flex at 90 degrees, just like we did for the test. Now imagine there's an ankle weight on this top leg. Now all I'm doing is driving it down, and the additional weight on the ankle will help us get slightly deeper, then come back up. And ideally the strength curve on this range of motion, it's kind of excessive to raise up this high. So I drop it down as far as I can go. I come up just a little. I pause. I go back down for the next rep. So this is the range of motion we're going to work in through this. And once again, we're just adding an ankle weight on so we have a little additional overpressure so we can strengthen this range of motion here. Lastly, we're going to work the advanced variation of how to strengthen the side of the hips here. And this, whereas the intermediate one where I had the ankle weight or imaginary ankle weight here doing it, and what was happening, my hip was fixed and my foot was working through the range of motion. Now you're going to see in a moment, my ankle is going to be fixed and my hip's working through a range of motion. It's essentially the same thing, just we're manipulating my body position or using the principles of mechanical advantage to make the same movement pattern way, way, way freaking harder. So 2 benches here are going to be the setup. Left foot's going to be on the bench, so the outside of my ankle's resting on it. The right foot drops over. I like my hand on my hip. Now what I'm thinking about doing is dropping the hip towards the floor, getting as big a stretch as I can, and then I push the outside of my foot into the bench to raise back up. What a few reps look like, drop down, and I'm driving the outside of my foot into the bench to raise myself back up. I am pushing on the bench with the outside of my foot to raise my body up and down here. It is way more of that motion as opposed to this using my obliques to raise myself up and down. There's definitely going to be a component of that, but try to really focus on isolating, pushing your foot into the bench to raise the torso up and down. Is going to make a significant difference in the intention of the movement to really isolate, once again, all this shit on the side of the hip. So just as a reminder here, guys, we are not using this test to diagnose your pain. This is an orthopedic exam you would use in the clinic to diagnose certain types of pain. But once again, you come in, you reach out to us for a movement assessment, which the link's below in the bio. You reach out to us, we take a detailed history. Based upon that detailed history, that then takes us to step 2, where we know what tests we want to pull to rule certain things in and rule certain things out. I think I've used this as an example in other videos before. It's like you go through airport security. You go through that metal detector. That metal detector is sensitive to metal, but it's not specific to a gun. So then they pull you out of line, and then they pat you down to specifically find that gun. Same thing here. We're using these things, these tests, to rule certain things in and out. It's not like you would do this test, that's the end-all, be-all. We have ABC or XYZ pain. There's a process that goes in to rule things in and out. But once again, these orthopedic exams are phenomenal at tracking, measuring, and monitoring our range of motion if we want to improve our mobility. And like I always say, what gets measured, we actually make progress on. So we are using this to track and measure the glute med, glute min, and the joint capsule range of motion. So you can do a test, implement these for XYZ numbers of weeks, retest, and you can see that you're making progress. Because if nothing else, you get that nice dopamine hit, you know you're making progress, you know you're going in the right direction, and you don't need to go down Instagram rabbit holes of saving a million different posts trying a new exercise every week because you don't know what the freak is working. So this is what we're using this for. This is the purpose. Once again, if you are having back pain, if you are having hip pain, link below, reach out to us. We'll set you up on a movement assessment call, take a detailed history and run you through these tests to actually figure out what the heck's going on.